I have another spooky story for you guys. This one was submitted by someone who believes that there's been some sort of dark entity that's followed her since childhood. Something that seems to be protecting her in a way that no human could. Let's just get right into the story. I believe I've had an entity attached to me since I was a child. I'm not sure how or exactly when it happened, but the earliest memory of it is from when I was in kindergarten. I was 5 years old. A boy in my class shoved me so hard that I hit my head on the corner of a cubby and needed stitches. After he pushed me, I ran and told the teacher what happened, but the boy denied it, and the teacher hadn't seen what happened. So she ended up chastising both of us for playing rough. I was so angry that the boy could do that to me and get away with it, but there was nothing I could do. That night, I remember having nightmares, but I can't recall specific details. I just remember feeling scared and waking up sweating and shaking. The next day, the same boy who shoved me fell off the jungle gym and broke his arm. I know this sounds terrible, but I was kind of happy that happened. It felt like justice. When I was 8, a babysitter locked me in the basement for fun and forgot about me there for hours. I wasn't found until my parents came home and found me lying in a ball on the floor, crying. My parents were furious, so they fired her and promised that it would never happen again. A few days later, we found out that the babysitter had been in a car accident that left her in traction for months. When I was 12, a teacher humiliated me in front of the class. We were all taking turns reading out loud, what we called popcorn reading back then, but I had zoned out and lost my place. When the previous student called on me, I was unprepared and read the wrong passage. My teacher made a snarky comment about me, and everyone laughed. About a week later, he slipped and fell down the stairs at school, breaking his jaw. Each time these things happened, there was no way I could have been involved. And each time, the timing was too perfect. At first, I told myself it was a coincidence. But then, when I was a teenager, I started to think that maybe I had a guardian angel, a violent one. It felt like something was watching over me, punishing anyone who hurt me. But as I got older, I started being more afraid because I saw that the harm was getting worse. An ex-boyfriend who cheated on me ended up hospitalized after a freak electrical fire in his apartment. A coworker who tried to sabotage me at work lost control of her car on a clear road and hit a guardrail. She barely survived. The night before each of those events, I had the same dream. I saw black wings curling around me, blocking out the light. And it's not just dreams anymore. When someone angers me, I can feel it stir. The air gets colder, my skin tingles, and I can almost hear labored breathing behind me. One time, after a man catcalled me on the street, I saw a reflection of the darkness walking beside me in a shop window. It towered beside me. Its ragged black wings were scraping against the glass. Its eyes were hollow and glowing like white flames. The next morning, I heard an ambulance outside my building. Later, I found out that a pedestrian had been hit by a car and didn't survive. I can't prove it, but I'm almost certain it was the same man who catcalled me. It's been getting bolder. When I'm alone at night, I hear it moving in my apartment, shuffling and pacing around. Sometimes I wake up and my bedroom door is open, even though I know I locked it. My phone flickers with static when I try to call someone right after I've been upset. Even now, as I write this, my lamp keeps dimming and brightening all on its own. I hate how this dark entity looks. To me, it looks like a fallen angel rotting from the inside out. Its limbs are unnaturally long, and its feathers are torn and hanging from its body, and it has black wings that curve like claws. Its face is almost human, but unnaturally stretched. Its mouth is as thin as a paper cut. When it's near me, my thoughts are not my own. I can feel its hunger. It doesn't speak with words. It pushes its feelings into my mind. I feel its satisfaction when someone suffers, and I can feel its anticipation when I'm afraid. I've stopped dating. I've stopped making close friends. I mostly keep to myself, just working from home and avoiding even small conflicts. I've done my best to keep it at bay, but just last year, a neighbor screamed at me over a parking space. That night, I felt the weight of wings press down on my chest while I slept. And then the next morning, that neighbor's car caught fire in our building's garage with no explanation. I used to think that this entity loved me or that it was protecting me, but now I know better. It's feeding on the chaos that it creates. I've begged it to stop. I've screamed at it to leave me alone. I've prayed until my voice went hoarse. But nothing works. It's here with me right now. I can feel it behind me as I type this. I started typing this on my laptop, but the screen kept flickering until it finally just went blank. I finished writing on my phone, but didn't send it right away because I was too scared. When I came back to my laptop a few hours later, it turned on fine, but there was a new sentence at the bottom of the email that I didn't write. Stop telling them about me. That's when I knew sharing this story was the right thing to do. If anyone knows how to get this thing away from me, please help. This is probably the most uncomfortable story that I've received. I do not feel good after reading that and making this video. I've actually stopped it multiple times because I kind of feel a little bit nauseous. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this one. Is there anything that she can do to get this thing away from her? Leave your thoughts and suggestions down in the comments, and don't forget to like and follow for more spooky stories.
You guys want to hear a scary story? It reminds me a lot of Insidious, but it's real. One time when I was babysitting these two girls, talked about them in a video before this. We were going to call the older one Luna and the younger one Aura. That's what I called them last time. I was babysitting, and the older one had an imaginary friend that she called Pete. I would always sense weird energy in this house. Disturbing, dark, like not good, friendly Casper the Ghost. And then one time, the oldest Luna at the time was, I want to say she was 3 or 4. And the baby, Aura, was like 6 months old. And I had put Aura down for bed. Put her in her little swaddle, got her all set up. She was snug as a bug, cute, perfect sleeping. And me and Luna were out in the living room because I was like, okay, we can play one game together like before you go to sleep, because Aura obviously went to bed a little bit earlier. I think we pulled out like Candyland, some board game, which obviously she doesn't know how to play the ins and outs and the rules because she's 3. But when we were playing, she had another little character and it was Pete's, right? And every time, I swear to God, I would look away, I'd look back and it would move, and she'd be like, oh, Pete moved it. And I'm like, okay, Luna, like, you obviously moved it, you know? Like, she's 3, and I know she's just like, you know, she doesn't know how to play the game. Now I know it was literally this dark spirit that was moving it, but stay with me. I'm like, okay, Luna, sure. And then out of nowhere, we're playing, and the TV was on in the background, excuse me. And Luna goes, I love this song. And I'm like listening. I'm like, what song, baby? Like, I don't hear any music. And she said, oh, the song that Pete is singing to me. She said, it's a song that my daddy plays on his guitar because their dad played guitar, I guess. Like, I'd always see the guitar. Sometimes it'd be in the living room or sometimes it'd be in the parents' room. Like, when I go in there to grab stuff for the kids, it was just like always propped against a wall. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, remember what we said about Pete? Because I told her I didn't want her talking to Pete because, again, this felt like a dark energy. And it sucked because every time I was there, I felt like he was sitting in between me and her. Like, he was always, the spirit, Pete, was always hovering. It would never go away. So anyways, I'm like, what song? Blah, blah. And she's like, I'm trying to get her to describe to me again. She's 3. She doesn't really know how to describe it. And she says, no, Pete said he'll play for you. And I said, no, that's okay. Like, want anything to do with it? She said, no, he'll play for you. Just hold on. So I ignore it and we start playing this game again. Just moving little pieces across the board. And all of a sudden I hear the strum of a guitar. Just a solo strum, like an off chord. And I just get chills down my back because at this time the guitar was in the parents' room. I only knew that. I hadn't gone in their room that time, but because I heard it and their door was shut. And Luna jumps up. She's like, oh, I told you, Riley. Like, I told you. Pete said he'd show you the song. It's my favorite song. And I'm terrified. Like, I'm trying so hard to act cool. I don't know how this little girl is not so scared. But I'm just like, oh, okay, hold on. Let me just go look real quick because my immediate thought was like, maybe somebody's in the house, like a real person, because that sounded way too real. It literally was just a strum of a guitar. So I go into the parents' room. I turn on all lights. The guitar is just sitting against the wall. Nobody's in the house. I do a sweep. And I'm like really disturbed because every sweep I'm doing, I feel like something is just hovering and following me into every room I'm going into. So I finally sit back down with her. I'm like, okay, babe, let's watch like 10 more minutes of the show and then like we're gonna go to bed. When I sat on the couch with her, it was the first time I felt like not super heavy, overpowering energy. And I'm like, whew, okay, like, but anyways, I was like, okay, this feels a little less heavy. Sorry, my dog's drinking water in the background. She's so loud. So I'm like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. And I pick up the baby monitor right next to us. You guys know what's coming. You've seen the scary movies because it literally was just like that. Pick up the baby monitor to check on Aura. And I literally gag when I think about this because it was so terrifying. I see a hand, right next to the baby. She's sleeping, she's swaddling, and it's a creepy hand where the nails are like this long, and it's just this black, shadowy hand just right next to her. And again, this is the first time I said I felt relieved, like I wasn't being followed. It's because it went in the other room. I freak out. I literally sprinted, ran, busted into Aura's room, woke her up because I came in the door so hot. She was crying and just felt that energy in that room was disgusting. I pick her up, I bring her back out to the living room. I'm like trying to explain to the parents when they come home, like they're gonna think I'm insane of why their kids are still awake. And I'm sitting on the couch with the baby and with Luna, and I forgot to turn off the baby monitor. And I literally hear just disembodied voices coming from the baby monitor. Terrifying, out of nowhere, loud. And I literally just shut the baby monitor off. And the baby ended up falling back asleep in my arms. Luna ended up falling back asleep, and she fell asleep on me, like her little head was on my shoulder. When the parents came out, I was like, sorry, they're just so sweet, and they just want to sleep out here with me. Because I tried again to, I've explained this in the other video, but I tried to kind of bring it up to them before, how something I thought was going on in their house, paranormal, and they looked at me like I was fucking insane. So I knew I wasn't getting anywhere with that. But that was also one of the terrifying times I experienced babysitting for those kids.
It's time for another scary story. This story takes place at my grandma's house, specifically in Maryvale area in Phoenix, Arizona. So this house has a lot of scary stories, but let me tell you the few scary stories that are very similar to each other that happened throughout the years. So there was this one specific time, one of my grandma's sisters was living with her at the time, and she would get home around 2 a.m. in the morning from work. When she got home from work, she stated that she heard knocking coming from the glass sliding doors to the backyard. As she got closer, she said that she saw that it was a little boy knocking on the door. He was looking into the glass sliding doors and knocking at the same time. She stated that she turned on the lights to get a better view of the kid, but she said when she turned on the lights, he wasn't there anymore. And that she went to the backyard, and when she went back there was nobody. It was empty, nobody was out there, so she just left back inside. That is so creepy, right? Wait. It gets creepier. This one time, my uncle, which is my dad's brother, was living with my grandma at the time. He stated that he was in his room with the door open, laying in his bed, so he had a view of the hallway from his bed since his door was open, you know. He stated that he saw a little boy peek into his room and just run back to the hallway towards the living room. He assumed it was me and my siblings with my parents for a surprise visit, like we always did. We always went for surprise visits to go see them. He was wrong. He got up after he saw the boy running towards the living room, and he said that when he checked the whole house, there was nobody there. He said that he checked the doors, they were all locked. He checked the windows, they were all shut, closed, and locked as well. He right away got creeped out. He ended up waiting in the front yard for my grandma to get home because he was that scared. Wait, there's more. There was this one specific time my great-grandparents were visiting from Mexico, and they always stayed with my grandma. My grandma said that late at night, my great-grandpa woke up yelling with pain. She obviously ran to him and said, "What is going on? What is wrong?" My great-grandpa told her that there was a little boy sitting on his leg and that it was hurting to get him off. My grandpa insisted on her getting that boy that was not even on his leg off of him. Guys, my grandma said she was so scared because there was nobody on his leg. She was so creeped out. There was this other time my grandma had her brother and his wife visiting her, and they had a young boy that was around 4 years old at the time. She said that that young boy interrupted their grown-up conversations and insisted on her to follow him to the hallway because he said that there was a little boy who wanted to talk to her. That boy was asking for Sylvia, which was my grandma. So my grandma said that the little 4-year-old pulled her by her hand and pulled her to the hallway and said, "He wants to talk to you. He's right there." My grandma said there was nobody there, obviously, and she was so creeped out because this isn't the first time she has heard of this little boy in her house. She told him, "There's nobody there, like, no, there's nobody there, mijo." Like, She said that he started crying, saying, yes, he is. He's right there. He wants to talk to you. Talk to him. One creepy thing about her house that always happens also is it's almost as if a little kid is messing with you. For instance, my uncle, my dad, and a lot of other family members that have stayed at my grandma's, because a lot of people actually have lived with her, because she always invited people kindly, like, you guys can live with me, when they needed somewhere to stay. Have stated that in the middle of the night they get the blankets pulled off of them, almost as if a kid's playing with them. Things end up going missing, and you literally find them in places you would have never thought you would find them. In other words, places you for sure know you did not put the stuff that went missing at. So those are the stories about my grandma's house. Let me know if this was a creepy story or not.
I have a real life horror story to share, so buckle up. This story is 100% real. There are police reports and posts on Nextdoor to prove it. And it's not from a movie, and it's not from a book. It is my real life. So a few years ago, I moved back to my hometown. It's super small. It's super sleepy. There's like 4,000 people. And it's kind of the type of place where there's not a lot going on. And if you're like, Ellen, why would you do that? Money. A couple that I know was like renting a tiny house. It was so cheap, and they were like, hey, if you want to move in, like, you've got the place. And I was like, great, I'll save some money. So I move in, and like literally a couple days into living there, I start to feel like somebody is watching me. Like, in my house, around my house, working in my little yard, things just felt very off. And spoiler alert, like, ladies, if you have this feeling, anyone, if you have this feeling, please listen to it. Okay, so 2 pieces of context that you need, like, super quick to understand how insane this story is and how creepy this gets. Because if you consume true crime content, unfortunately, you are in the right place. Couple pieces of context that you need to understand how scary and creepy this is. So the property was divided into sections. The couple that lived in the main house were renting to me. So they lived in the main house. They had their own yard, their own entrance and exit, like, kept to themselves. My space was the tiny house in the back, and I had my own tiny postage stamp of a yard. I had my own gate. And I parked my car right outside my gate so I could just get in there and just go to work. I kept to myself. No one knew that I lived there. So not only did this place kind of creep me out, but I started smelling cigarette smoke like 4 days into living there. Like, it was evening, I was kind of winding down, getting ready for bed, and I would smell it, and it was so strong, it was like someone was in the room with me. And because I'm a rational person, I was like, it's probably the couple in the main house. Like, one of them went outside to smoke, hiding it from the other one, and it's just kind of wafting into my room. And stay with me because this is about to get completely unhinged. I should also add that sometimes my dog would like bark or growl, and I have to confess, you guys, I like shushed her a little bit because we had just moved in. And I was like, you know, there's a lot of unfamiliar sounds. We used to live in the country. I was like, you probably just like hear people going about their lives and you're being like a little bit dramatic about it. And we can't bark at everything. I have regrets. You're the best. So then comes the fateful night when my dog indicates that she has to go out to go to the bathroom. And I smell the cigarette smoke again. And I'm just like, 2 for 1, I'm going to go outside with her and just gently call over the fence and just be like, hey, couple who lives in the main house, like, can you not smoke right outside here? Because, like, it's kind of wafting over the fence and into my bedroom, and it's super strong. And I'm like, tonight's the night. We are having a conversation about it. So I let myself out the front door, no shoes, no pants, no phone, and I see a man in my yard, and he is looking in my bedroom window, and he's smoking. So before I tell you how I respond to this, if you've ever been in an emergency situation and had like a weird response, I would love to hear about it, because when people are in shock, when we're in disbelief, we just don't react the way that one might think. Sometimes it's not like super rational, you know? Now I have the gift of hindsight to look back and think of all the things I would have, could have, should have done, but I didn't have that at the time. I was really just like a girl with no pants and no shoes and no phone and no gun. And no security system, which, like, since then I have changed. So I responded in a weird way. I like called out, "Hey," as if like he was a friend of mine who was just dropping by and forgot to text, because I thought, like, there's no way this is a stranger. Like, he must be like lost, like he went to the wrong house, or like a friend or a friend's partner who's like dropping off a book for me, or like dropping off some apples from their tree. Like, I truly live in Delulu land, you guys. You have no idea. But no, quickly I realized that this was a stranger, and he was in my yard and he was watching me. So he sees me, and he's clearly on drugs because his reaction is super slow. And he turns around and like takes off, but he's like not very fast. And I instinctively take off after him, as any completely irrational person would do. Like, what am I gonna do if I catch him? And I'm running through the dark alley with no shoes on, stepping on like pine cones and pine needles and stuff. And he gets away, because of course he does. And then I'm standing in a dark alley, like, for what feels like 10 minutes, which is probably like 10 seconds. And that's when it dawns on me, like, finally, that this person is not lost. He's not a friend of a friend. He is a stranger who's been stalking me for months and watching me through my window, smoking. So this person who just got away has seen me get out of the shower and read a book in bed and scroll on social media. I've even woken up in the middle of the night to the smell of his cigarette smoke, which means that he's watched me sleep before. And this is all too much for my brain to comprehend. So I just stood there, you guys. And then I'm like, I have to call the police. Like, this is an actual emergency that actually just happened. Like, I have to call the police. So I go back into my little tiny home and I find my cell phone, and I just sit on the bed, sweating and shaking, and trying to convince myself that this was a real thing that really just happened, and I did not make it up. I didn't imagine it. So I call the police, and they're very nonchalant for some reason. I'm like, would you be this nonchalant if this was you, or like your partner or your family? Because I hope not. And this person is a neighbor of mine. And you know that's true because, like, it's not random that 4 days after I moved in, I started smelling cigarette smoke outside of my house. I am confronted with the knowledge that, like, this person is very close to me and has been for, like, a while. And it's a tale as old as time, because when I talk to the police of this, 4,000, 5,000 person tiny ass town, it very quickly pivots from like him stalking me and like his actions and like anything about him to like, do I do this or did I do that? It was like, do you have a gun? And at the time I was like, no, I have a gun now. And they were like, did you have a home security system? I didn't have one at the time. And did you lock your doors every day? And I was like, honestly, not really. I thought this was safe and I was wrong. And I felt so stupid and I felt so small and embarrassed, which I should not have had to feel. Okay, this is getting very long. Let me know if you want a part 2. But spoiler alert, I am not the only woman he watched.
Okay, I got you. But put your big girl panties on, because this one is terrifying. This story didn't personally happen to me, but I have to share it with you all because it is one of the scariest stories I have ever heard. I'm also going to preface this by saying I can't give exact locations or name of patients, but this also happened in the Appalachia region. So one of my really good friends, we will call him Bob, was working as a paramedic. The dispatcher was like, we just got a call. We need you to run out to this house. The patient wasn't saying anything. They were just breathing really heavy on the other end of the phone. So Bob was like, okay, just some heavy breathing on the other end of the phone. But anytime there's a call, they have to go respond. I mean, this person could have been in such respiratory distress that they really needed medical help. They pull up to the house. It's this super long driveway, and it's actually a big, massive home. But he said as soon as he pulled up, it just didn't feel right. Like, even though the house was huge, it had been like run down. Like there was a lot of weeds in the front yard. The grass was super overgrown, and there was an in-ground pool, but the pool had been drained of all the water, and there was like weeds and stuff coming up through the cement of the pool. Bob and his partner go inside the home. Everything is dark. The only thing that's lit up inside the house is a TV, and it's not like a new flat screen TV. It's one of those old box TVs, and it's on just like the white static. He's immediately creeped out, but he's like yelling for the patient, like, hello, EMS here, someone called out, labored breathing, hello. Nobody answers. So they kind of start searching the house to find the patient. Bob and his partner walk upstairs, and they hear a door in the hallway creak open very slowly. This frail little lady is in one of those little electric wheelchairs with like the little bloop, bloop, bloop. And she just slowly comes out of this door, but she doesn't say anything. They're like, ma'am, EMS here. Are you okay? How can we help you? She doesn't say a peep. She reaches into her jacket pocket and pulls out a note that says, help, he has a gun. This is when Bob actually starts panicking, and he was like, this is becoming too much for us and we need police backup. Bob said he was going to try to pick up the little old lady out of her electric wheelchair to take her downstairs and get her to safety. But as soon as him and his partner started to do that, he heard noise coming from another bedroom upstairs. It was at this time Bob made the decision, we've got to go get backup. Like, we need additional help or we're all going to get hurt. Him and his partner speed outside to get back into the truck. And as they were running outside towards the truck, they heard one of the bedroom windows open and a man yelling at them to get the heck off of their property. This is the craziest part though. Bob gets back in his truck, starts to leave the driveway to get to safety, calls police. Police are dispatched to the house. Nobody's there. The house had been foreclosed on years ago and nobody lived at that residence. I'm like, Bob, you are making this up. He's like, Sydney, no, I swear to God, I know what I saw. There was a lady in there. There was a man, possibly with a gun, because I heard noise coming from another bedroom and he was shouting at me as I was leaving the property. So, I don't know, but it still gives me chills. It still terrifies me. Let me know what you think about this story in the comments. And if you want to hear more spooky stories, then follow along. I got you.
Anyone want a scary story? Because this one's going to stay with you. So just be prepared. You know, I always say this is one of the scariest stories I've read. But imagine this happening to you. Like, just imagine what you'd do in this situation. So it happened in 2014, and a man takes himself on an evening walk. He does this all the time, almost every night. He likes to get his steps in before bed. It calms him down after his work day. He does it any season, any weather. He loves going on his nighttime strolls. He says it must be about 9:30, and it's November time, so it's pretty much dark. He does his usual everyday route down some blocks, past some parks, and he's on a long stretch of road that he's walking on a path that is adjacent to a park. So as he's walking on the path, he can see through the fence the park. He says he usually sees homeless people in there, groups of youths on bikes doing whatever. But this day, he notices something quite unusual. And at first, he thinks it's just some guy that's really drunk. But he notices a guy dancing on his own. Not like a little, boogie. He's like doing the waltz on his own. So he's like got his whole body movement. His head's looking up and he's doing 4 box steps. But he's noticing that every box step he takes, he's like taking a step forward. So he's dance walking. He's also moving very quickly, and he's pretty much dancing alongside this man while he's walking. but there's a fence and like some hedges and trees between them. He gets a funny, unnerving feeling, and he's like, if this guy's drunk, I don't want to be around him. So he crosses the road. He keeps looking back at this man that's dancing, and this man that's dancing is now on the other side of the path. So there's a road between them, and he's still doing this dance, moving quite quickly, quite animated. Eventually, when he turns to face the guy walking across the road, he notices that his head has not stopped from being straight up looking at the sky, but his eyes are wide open, and so is his mouth. Sorry, what? Just... Ooh. The guy's walking quicker. He's like, I need to get away from this guy. I want to go home. He's walking. He keeps on looking back, and he notices that this guy's now out of sight. And he has a moment of relief, like, he's gone back to the park. You know, he's gone home. He's left me alone. Oh, no. No. He now notices that he's much more further ahead, so he's moving very quickly. He's crouched down, same facial expressions, like looking at the guy. The guy walking home is shocked. He kind of just stands there and takes a few steps back. The guy that's now crouched down on the opposite side of the road takes big, animated, like cartoon-like steps, big strides on his tiptoes, very quickly across the road, so they're now on the same side of the road. It's about a car's width between them. This guy really thinks he's going to get mugged, he's going to get whatever. So he shouts to him, what the fuck are you doing? But he knows that when he shouts that to him, his voice breaks because of how scared he is. Then the creepy dancing weirdo stands up straight and just takes one step forward, and the main guy takes one step back, and it's like he's very briefly like animating him, like copying him. The man's facial expression changed. He's now got a really big grin on his face, and he's edging closer. The man shouts again, what the fuck are you doing? Leave me alone. And rummages in his pocket, tries to find his keys. This is when the man just stops, turns, and walks away. And pretty much so does the main guy. He's walking quickly. He's like, I need to go home. This is a really weird experience. This guy isn't normal. I need to get away from him. As he's walking, he keeps on looking back. He keeps on looking back, and the man has just stopped and is staring in his direction. However, the next time he looks back, he's getting bigger. No, he's now just sprinting towards him, mouth open, like a maniac down the street. What would you do in this situation? Oh, this guy just runs away. He says he chases him for at least 2 miles, and he eventually loses sight of him when he goes down like a back alley and over someone's backyard and up to an old apartment block where he knew quite well. He was essentially like hiding in this apartment block doorway until, well, this guy was just gone or lost track of him. I don't know. He eventually plucked up the courage to walk home. I don't know how he had the balls to do so. When he got home, he lived in an apartment. He opened up his curtains just to check, you know, and he wished he never did. Because guess who's just dancing the waltz down his street? Yep. The person writing this story said that they never went on an evening walk again. Never did it. Even when they moved out of that city, they never went on an evening walk again because the guy that they saw wasn't a normal guy. What would you do in this situation? Why are people so weird? Honestly, I think there's a subbreed of human because some of these stories are getting wild.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
And I'll go second. So these are admittedly not my stories, they're my dad's stories. Just a little background on my father. He doesn't believe in ghosts at all. Not even a little. He thinks that that is made up. It's fake. And now that I've gotten that out of the way, he has experienced the scariest hauntings I've ever heard about in my life. When he was younger, I would say probably about like 9 to 13, in that age range, he had a friend that started getting into like kind of occult weird things. He started feeling a little bit uncomfortable around this friend, and he remembers 2 really specific incidents with this friend that made him stop hanging out with this kid. One of which was they were at a river with a bunch of other boys, and they were swimming, you know, playing as kids do. And this friend in question was in the water next to my father, And while they're playing, my dad looks up, and standing across the river at the tree line, and this is in rural Canada, like in the middle of nowhere Canada, standing at the tree line is that friend. And he's just staring at my dad, and he just goes like this. Mind you, that kid is next to my dad at that time, so he's seeing two of them. And the other one just turns around and goes into the woods after beckoning my dad after him. I hate that story. It makes my eyes tear up. I hate that story. But my dad, being a child, still hung out with this kid. So he goes over to his house, and this kid is sitting in this big, like, lazy boy recliner chair. And he's sitting there, and he's kind of just staring at my dad while they're talking, acting super strange. And he looks at my dad, and he goes, "I've been in your dreams." And as soon as he says that, my dad hears, like, pounding on the underside of this kid's chair. He's sitting cross-legged in his chair, not moving, and hears something beating on the underside of the chair. And this kid goes, "I've been in your dreams." And my dad, stone-faced, dead-ass, looks at me and goes, "And the fucked up thing? He had been in my dreams." My father doesn't believe in ghosts. I asked him to explain these to me in, like, a scientific way. He goes, "I was just hallucinating." I was just having a vivid hallucination. Anyway, those are just two of my favorite little stories from my father, who swears the ghosts are not real.
So I told this story already once on my TikTok, but I think people thought that it was fake because of the way I conveyed it. So I'm going to tell it again in a way that I think people are actually going to take it in for what it is, okay? Because this is a real true story. And it's why you should never make friends at a bar or make friends and fully, like, put your trust in them, okay? This was like my moment of realization that you cannot trust other women just because they're women. Like, not everybody is a girl's girl. And this is what solidified that for me. So one night I went to this bar by myself because I didn't want to go home. I was in a really abusive relationship with my ex, baby, father, so whatever. I didn't want to go home to get belittled, beaten, and whatever, so I decided to go to the bar by myself. Now, I would have gone with some friends, but I had moved away from my hometown for this motherfucker, so I had no friends, and so I decided that I was just gonna go by myself, clear my head, get a couple drinks, and then I would go home. Hopefully he'd be sleeping by then. So I order myself a Paloma. Those are so good. Don't sleep on those. It makes me feel like a rich bitch when I order one of those. Like, "Hey, can I please get a Paloma?" And they look at me like, "You know what the fuck that is?" Anyways, yeah, so I order a Paloma. And I'm sitting there, I'm drinking it, I'm minding my fucking business. I'm literally not conversing with anybody because I am depressed. I'm thinking about what's gonna happen to me when I go home. When in comes this girl who introduces herself to me as Maggie. And I'm using her real name because I don't even think that was her real name. I think she just gave me a random name, which in hindsight, I should have done the same. So then she asks me what I'm drinking. I tell her what it is, and she orders 2 more and pushes one over to me and, you know, gets one for herself. And then we just have like normal bar small talk. At the time, I thought that she was going to be like one of my friends, you know. I thought she was a safe person. I thought she was cool to hang out with, and that it would be like a good, you know, little dynamic to get me away from this abuse. Come to find out, I was wrong about that. Fast forward, the bar's closing and I'm drunk and I still don't want to go home because at that point, like, I know that guy is still awake. I know that I'm going to go home and he's going to be like, "You cheated on me," and then bop, 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 bop. So couldn't do that. Didn't want to do that. And I had nowhere else to go because, like I said, this was a new area for me. I moved away from my friend's family and everything to live in this guy's house with him. So whatever, Maggie could tell that I didn't want to go home. So she invited me to go to what she was going to after she left the bar, which was she was going to go to like a bonfire at her friend Josh's house. Again, using the real name because I don't think these are their real names. So stupidly, I was like, yes, I will go with you because I don't want to go home. The car ride was fine, okay? The car ride was great. I remember jamming. We would have all the windows down. Honestly, I felt like I was riding in the car with my best friend. Like, it was those type of vibes. It was vibes. So then she starts driving down this, like, dirt road, which isn't, I'm thinking, like, okay, this person probably lives on a dirt road. Like, we literally live out in the middle of nowhere, so I'm assuming that she knows where she's going. Okay, everything's fine. Then instead of pulling into like some kind of neighborhood or even like a driveway or anything like that, she pulls into a clearing, turns the car off, and then literally just turns to me. Like she just turns to face me and she just stares at me. And I'm like, can I help you? Like, so at that point, I just assume that something's wrong with the car. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's going on? Is everything okay? And so calmly, this girl looks at me and she goes, get out of the car. I'm sorry. What? What? To get out of this car? You want me to get out of my seat? And at first I was like, dude, I'm not going outside. It's dark outside. I'm scared of the fucking dark. Hell no. She wasn't having it. She just wanted me to get out of the car. She pulled out this little tiny, like little small pocket knife, like something that like wouldn't even defend off a freaking cat, you know? So I don't really know why I was so scared. I don't want to be stabbed by anything, you know? So I got out of the car and then she gets out on her side, comes around to my side, stares at me for another like maybe 5 seconds, I don't know. And then she says, I'm gonna give you a 20-second head start, okay? Like literally like, okay, okay? Girl, what do you mean? I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. What? You have got to be fucking joking with me. You have got to be fucking joking with me right now. This is not happening. So I stand there for another like couple seconds, not really believing what she's saying to me. And then she literally is like, I'm giving you 20 seconds. She said it one more time. She said, I'm giving you 20 seconds. You should probably take the 20 seconds. What? So I start sprinting through these dark ass woods with my boots on. I'm drunk. I'm disoriented. I don't know where I am. I've never been in these woods before. I've never been on this road before. As I'm running, I can hear her running behind me. And she did give me 20 seconds. It was probably like more like 10 seconds at that point, but she gave me a couple seconds to like sprint for my life through these woods. And like as I was running, right, she's behind me. I can see a flashlight, and then I start to see another flashlight, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, okay, what the fuck is this? And like maybe this is her friend. This has to be her fucking friend. This has to be Josh, right? So I'm running for my life. They're following me. Both of them are following me. I don't have my flashlight on. I'm kind of far ahead of them, okay? Like I can only see their flashlight and barely hear their feet like pitter-pattering behind me. So I get to this river, okay? I don't want to cross the river because I know like I'm going to get stuck in this river. Like it's going too fast for me to cross in a timely fashion so that they're not going to get me. So I scope everything out as best as I can in the dark, and right to my left there's like this hollowed out log. And so I dive in there, like fucking literally like blink into this fucking hollowed out log. Don't know if there's an animal in there. Probably just chilling with the spiders. I don't care. I shit you not. About like maybe 10 seconds after I nosedived into that hollow log, I hear them. I can hear them running right next to the river, like right where I just was, right where I was hiding in the log. So then I hear Maggie say, maybe she crossed the river. We should go across the river. And then the deeper voice, to which I assume was absolutely had to be Josh, he was like, well, okay, maybe you should go check across the river and I'll check on this side of the river and see where she's hiding. She couldn't have gotten very far. I am sweating. I'm holding back tears. I'm trying not to be that girl in the horror movie that like lets out a and then they fucking find her. I'm barely breathing in this hollow log and I don't move for the entire night. And they spent a long time out there looking for me, like in the vicinity, before they started like, you know, going deeper into the woods or wherever it is that they decided to go. I don't know if they gave up looking for me or what, but yeah, I stayed in that log for the whole entire night. Somehow I ended up falling asleep because I remember waking up and seeing like the light of dawn. Like it was barely dawn in the morning. And that was the only time that I sort of felt safe coming out. And even then I was like, what if they like waited? What if they like are sitting out here like hunters, like waiting for me to come? What is going on? Whole time I did have my phone with me, but there's no service out in the woods. There's no service out on the back roads where I live. So I was fucked. I had no way of communicating with anybody, and my fucking phone was like fully charged, dude. That being said, I did have means of calling somebody once I did get to a public road, and I did. I called my brother and he was there. He brings me to the police station and I file my report or whatever, but nothing ever came of it because, like I said, I'm pretty sure she gave me fake ass names. Like, those were not their names. Of course, why would she be giving me their real names if they were going to be hunting me? It's super scary to think that I literally could have died. I almost died. In a really scary way. Like, that is one of my biggest fears. Like, I want to die peacefully, okay? I don't want to die like that. I barely made it away unscathed. I don't trust people you meet. I know that we're all like, you can never trust a man and you should more frequently be able to trust women, but you can't even trust the women. Girl, she was like my age. Time, like I was around 21, 22 maybe. Not everybody is a girl's girl and not everybody has good intentions. Like, there are some conniving ass bitches out there. Wonder if they've done that to somebody before, or if I was like gonna be the first one or something like that, and then I got away, and then maybe they did that to somebody else. What the like, is that just like her game? Like, she goes into bars and drinks with people and then invites them out and then goes and hunts them with her friend or boyfriend or husband or whoever the frig that guy was? I have no answers. I only have the story to tell. Moral of the story, don't trust anyone.
If you're ever walking on the street or at a random place and out of nowhere run into a loved one that is now gesturing you to follow them, just blindly, I would definitely question it. It may actually be a D word taking the form of your loved one in order to get you alone. Story time, this person wants to be anonymous, so let's call her Lila. When Lila was about 11 years old, she was living in Malaysia with her family. They lived in an apartment building on the 12th floor. One day, she's walking home from school when she happens to look across the street and sees a woman standing there that looks just like her mother. The woman smiles at her and starts gesturing for her to follow her. Just as Lila is getting ready to cross the street, her brother stops her and goes, "Where are you going? We're supposed to be walking home. Home is this way." Lila then responds with, "Don't you see Mom? She's standing over there telling us to follow her." Her brother then goes, "What do you mean? There is no one over there." Lila decided to brush off the experience and go home and act as if nothing had happened. Until a couple weeks later, she's sleeping in her room when she gets woken up by someone tapping on her leg. When she opens her eyes, she looks up and sees this creepy old lady standing there wearing her mom's clothes. This creepy old lady then starts to tell Lila to follow her out into the balcony. Now mind you, her family lived on the 12th floor. Lila, of course, screams and wakes up her whole family. They all run in there and this creepy old lady is nowhere to be found. They automatically assume that she must have had a nightmare and decided to brush it off once again. Until one night, Lila's mom wakes up to Lila sleepwalking towards the balcony. When her mom shook her awake, Lila told her that her mom had been the one that had been holding her hand, walking her towards the balcony. This is impossible due to the fact that her mom had been asleep the whole time. This really started to scare Lila's mom, so she decided to take Lila to the temple so they could pray over her. Just a few days later, Lila wakes up screaming at the top of her lungs. She keeps saying that she sees the creepy old lady right outside of her window, dressed in her mom's clothes, telling her to come outside. Now, once again, they lived on the 12th floor, so there was no humanly possible way that a human could be just floating on the 12th floor. At that point, Lila ended up going back to the temple where they did a full cleansing and came to the home and they spread holy water all over it, just really clearing out any type of negativity or just negative energy that could have been left by this creepy old lady. The temple then told her mom that this creepy old lady that she had continued to encounter over and over again was actually a D word that took the form of a human in order to capture their victim. From that point forward, Lila's mom had 5 golden rules to follow to prevent anything like that from ever happening again. Let me know if you guys are interested in hearing them. I mean, these are 5 things that I've never personally heard of, but they're very true to Lila's heart and her culture.
This is one of the scariest stories I've ever read. It was posted 10 years ago on Reddit by an account called A Writer Named Williams. It was on the subreddit called Let's Not Meet. The story is called Poker Face. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this very scary story. This happened in Antioch, California. It was around 2 a.m. I was at a friend's house, safe in warm, sheltered suburbia. We were having a lot to drink, chit-chatting, enjoying ourselves, of course. when you're having fun, time hits the fast forward button, and those few minutes turn into an hour. I had too much to drink. My friend has a bit of an abrupt bedtime, so I had to dodge out early, still intoxicated. I felt too shameful thinking I'd be asking too much to stay in his house to sleep off the drunkenness. I suppose he was either too rude or too drunk to consider it himself. Whatever. Sometimes a little inconvenience makes you appreciate everything else. I needed about another hour or so to sober up and drive back. As fast as time passed during my stay, it decided to drastically slow down as soon as I stepped out of his house. It was a cul-de-sac area, a concrete jungle with the stem of the street breaking into a fork. Alongside the road, my car was parked. The only street light that worked was in the middle of the cul-de-sac circle, about 80 yards away. I stumbled towards my car, produced my keys, and felt the metal line up. Opened my door and shifted to the back seat. Because this was a dark, strange, and unfamiliar neighborhood, I took the leftover newspapers and a sweater in my back seat to cover myself up. I was a little scared. I wanted to camouflage myself and not just be some guy awkwardly sitting in his car, waiting for time to pass in order to drive home. I couldn't fall asleep. The uncomfortable feeling of a cheap backseat bed enshrouded in darkness didn't make the chance of slumber easier. It felt too ominous, and of course my mind began to wonder. I thought of worst-case scenarios, like how the police would shine their lights on me through the window, or a drunk driver hitting my car, and... Wait. In the distance, about 100 yards away, I hear footsteps approaching. The gravel scuffed with each step forward, growing in proximity but periodically taking stops. I wondered why until it made sense in my mind. Whoever it was probably looking through cars carefully, with the intent to steal one. I couldn't recall how many cars were on the block, but I counted 3 full stops until he was at my window, breathing. I froze. There was no more than 1 foot between us. The car encapsulated me as I lay hidden beneath backseat clutter, forming myself into an object, trying my hardest to be unnoticeable, unmoving, and simply not there. "I see you," said a 40-plus-year-old man in a perverse baby talk. I imagine when you were playing hide and seek and one of your friends tricks you into coming out, he said it in that tone of voice, as if baiting me, like he was questioning whether the clutter in the back seat was just clutter or a person. I didn't want to move or check the window. I remained clutter. Give me an Academy Award. My body reacted by minimizing my breathing so much that I felt paralyzed. I dare not to look. My eyes fixated on the back of the passenger seat. I didn't blink, I didn't move, I didn't breathe. My heart was pounding so hard it shook my body with each throb. He circled around the car. My ears didn't fail me. I heard the steps. I felt like I was part of the car. I could feel him touching the trunk as he carefully pressed down on it, as if to test the alarm, as if to test me. I was in the middle of fight or flight. I couldn't do either without elevating danger. I was frozen and hoping to God he was bluffing. He circled the car again. The door handle to my right jiggled. He was pulling it multiple times. "I see you." Same tone, but more agitated and stressed, more convinced that he was trying to make that clutter move, revealing itself to be one of his expectations that it was me. My muscles tensed like a cow before slaughter. That had to be metal against glass. "Take a penny right now and tap your window." A crowbar, a knife, a rock, a gun. My eyes fixated on the seat in front of me, never averting my gaze like he was. I was covered enough to where I couldn't see beyond the seat in front of me. I know I couldn't see him, but I can feel his eyes resting on top of me.
"My name is Poker Face. What's your name?"
The voice changed, in a lower, demented, and serious tone. My mind forced a visual. It wasn't anything human. I already accepted my death. I was ready to be shot in the head, ready to take a life-changing bullet, multiple knife wounds. Just make the sleep bearable, not excruciating, as you drain me of life. I wouldn't know how to react. My thoughts grew dimmer. I imagined my friend waking up the next morning after a calm night of safe and sound sleep, only to discover my mutilated, defiled, and bloody body hanging outside of my car door. It was then I heard nothing but my own heart. What was this person doing now? Just staring at me in the middle of the night, talking to me, or a messy pile in the back seat? Time froze. The footsteps were being swallowed in the distance. Thank God he left. I waited another hour until the sun showed hints of itself. I jumped in my front seat and bolted out of there, wide-eyed and sober. And that's the end of the story.
Here's another scary story about the kids I used to babysit for that lived in an extremely haunted house. Catch up on my playlist if you haven't already. It'll be a lot easier to follow everything else. So if you've ever had a paranormal experience, I'm just gonna say this really quick because I know it might resonate with people. You know, for whatever reason, evil spirits and demonic activity, they tend to like feet, okay? I have way more stories including feet to do with paranormal things. I have like 5 of them, of terrifying things that have happened with feet specifically. Don't know why, but they seem to really like them. It's like they know it's terrifying. So this one time I was babysitting Luna, the oldest one, as we know. Pete is her imaginary friend. It was the evil entity that was thriving in this home, and she was closer with it than the younger one. The younger one, Aura, really didn't like this entity and was afraid of it. So this specific time, I remember me and the girls had a big day. I was with them like all day and a little bit of the night, so they were really tired. Put them to bed, turned their night lights on, kept the doors open. I didn't like shutting their doors ever, but tucked them in. Everything seemed well. And then 30 minutes after I tucked them in, I see Luna, the oldest, coming down the hallway, because I can see down that hallway from the living room, and I was sitting on the couch. And she saw I was sitting there and ran to me. And I remember I like opened my arms out and she jumped into my arms and her body was shaking. And I was like, baby, what's wrong? Obviously in my head, I feel like I know what's going on because duh, I've had so many bad experiences. But the thing was, guys, she was never really afraid of Pete. It was like her friend. Like, it bonded with her, tried to attach with her. She was scared, and I never really saw her that scared with Pete until she got a little older, but that's a different story. And she said, Riley, something's in my room. Oh my God, I get such chills telling this story. I'm like turning on all my lights right now. And I was like, what's the matter, baby? And she said, well, I think something wants to play with me, and it's probably one of Pete's friends, but it's a little more scary. And it looks like its feet, it looks like its feet are hurting. I have chills right now. I said, baby, what do you mean its feet are hurting? And she said, well, I just looked over on my bed and I thought I saw Pete, and it wasn't Pete. She told me she rolled over because she like heard something, I guess, on the ground. When she rolled over to look on the floor, she saw, the way she just described them, a disgusting, like decrepit, rotting pair of feet attached to legs. And she said she looked down and she saw feet, and she closed her eyes and she didn't want to look back up. And then she said she opened her eyes and the feet were gone. And then she felt something tickling her own feet. And I'm like really trying to keep it together. And when I retell this story, I like shake because I don't know why this one hit so terrifying for me. It was just me visualizing it and feeling so bad. I cannot imagine how scared she felt in that time, you know what I mean? And so I'm holding her, I'm like, it's okay, baby, like, you know what, how about we all sleep out here, right? We all sleep out here. And she's like, okay, like, I'd like that. I didn't, at this point, guys, like, I had often let them sleep with me on the couch. And not like I was sleeping, but I would put them in bed on the couch because I knew what was going on at home, and I didn't feel comfortable leaving them in the rooms, and the parents would get mad at me. And so I would try sometimes when I felt like maybe the activity was a little bit more normal, but I hated leaving them alone in their rooms. I was constantly every like 5 minutes typically checking on them, except for this night. Of course I felt terrible. I had only checked on them once in like the 30 minutes they went to bed, and when I looked in the rooms they were sleeping. So anyways, I'm like, you stay right here, I'm gonna go get Aura. God. Hold on. So I go and I get Aura, and Aura's door is right here. Luna's is right here. And I'm looking over and her door is shut, and I thought that's weird because I'm picturing her, I didn't hear her door shut first of all. And when she ran out to get me, she looked so scared. I feel like she wouldn't have thought to close the door behind her. She would have just gotten up and ran because that's how she described it to me. Oh my God. And I remember I was like, weird, I'm not even gonna you know what, fuck that. I'm not going in that damn room. We're all sleeping in a group out here. And I pick up Aura, she's sleeping, and I feel like I am being watched heavily. And I swear to God, I heard knocking coming from Luna's room. So I'm picking up Aura. She's dead asleep in my arms, right? I'm like gently trying to like carry her out to the couch so waking her up. Right when I leave her room, like you look right at Luna's door. You can't, you know, exit the room without looking at it. I look down because I just feel like something is wrong. And through the door on the bottom, I see toes. Ugh, guys, I see toes barely, like it's standing right by the door. And it was like, in my head, I'm picturing it listening to the door and like it shut itself in there. And I just see like barely the end line of toes, and they looked purple and disgusting, and like the flesh was not normal. And it was so hard in these moments because I thought I was losing my mind sometimes, and I thought, okay, like maybe it is a real person. Like there's so many times where I thought like it's a real person, it's not an entity, it's someone living in a crawl space. But I had checked attics, I checked the attic myself, the crawl space myself. I've checked every room in that house. There's never anybody in there. And I also knew from looking at this pair of feet, those were not human feet. So I just grabbed her tight, ran to the living room, and I remember I held Luna and I was shaking so bad. And that night, I don't think that was Pete. I don't know what it was. I never saw it again. She never talked about it again. But after that was when I really just started not caring if the parents were mad at me when I would put them to bed on the couch, because I was not comfortable leaving those babies alone in their room with God knows what the fuck was trying to mess with her. And I'm putting myself in her shoes as a little girl and how fucking terrifying. Like, I was terrified. I was sick to my stomach seeing that through the door. She said she rolled over and looked at the floor and saw them. Like, dude, I would never recover from that. That one probably takes the cake for one of my most terrifying experiences that I've tried to push out of my mind, to be honest, but horrifying.